Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Atp Live Monday. And I know this is going to be the last one for the month of August before we go into the Ember month. So, welcome. Whichever platform you're watching from, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. Welcome, everyone. ACP Live is a program brought to you by Ask the Pediatricians Foundation, and you get to ask any questions that you have about the health of your children, and in 1 hour, and I get to answer them. My name is Bimisola Boyede. I'm a pediatrician and I'm the founder, CEO of Ask the Pediatricians Foundation. So it's my pleasure to be here this evening. Again, as our usual practice, to take any questions that you may have about the health of your children. And so you're all welcome. Feel free to share the video, share the link to friends, to family, anyone that you know may have something they want to ask the pediatrician. This is the time for you to invite them to come. And I'm also just going to do the same. So for the next 1 or 2 minutes, let's us just make sure that we have the videos on all our platforms and everyone can see and everyone can hear. So feel free to help me share the video. Yeah, I think I'm also going to do the same. Okay, I'm looking for my video on our Facebook group. All right, welcome everyone. I hope your day has been lovely. Monday, has it been at work today? So you're welcome. Please help us to share the video, and as you're joining us, feel free to drop your questions straight away, and so that we will answer them. I'm also just going to do the same, but I just want to share the video first. Then I will start to answer the questions. So feel free to help us share. Okay. I'm just sharing the videos to all our other Facebook groups and platforms so that everybody can see. All right, I can see some questions already coming on Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for asking your questions. So just give me 2 more minutes to just get all the sharing and pinning and all those stuff done so that I don't get a complaint afterwards that, oh, I didn't say it or something like that. So that's why. All right. Okay, I think I'm almost done with all my sharing. Just pinning it and making sure everyone can see it. So if you can hear me on Facebook especially, let me know. Please drop a comment, because I'm not sure what is happening with our Facebook. It seems like sometimes people don't tend to see the video on time. I guess it's Facebook algorithm responsible for that. Okay. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, yeah, I think we're done now. Okay, Facebook people, let me know you are there. I can see your comments and let me know you can hear me. All right, so thank you so much. Let me just welcome everyone once again. Welcome to ATP Live Monday. This is a program where you get to ask any question that you have about the health of your children and get an answer from a pediatrician's perspective. So we have 1 hour now to go through all the questions, and I can see Instagram people always, early and on point. So I can see a few questions coming through Instagram. So the first question is from Urban Nitty. Say good evening, Ma. Should I be worried as my 6-month-old baby always like eating his hand on anything? Okay, eating his hand. Okay, no, I don't think that's something to worry about. But that would be an opportunity for you to start giving the child like toys. So instead of the child using his hand to eat things and most likely going to get injuries from that, you can give the child like toys like rattles, something the child can bang, or any kind of toy the child can hold in their hands and bang together or things like that. So if you give the child such, then it will be easier for the child to play with the toys rather than for them to be eating the hand. But it's perfectly normal for that age for them to transfer things from one hand to the other, to want to explore the environment, to want to grab on things, to want to hear the sound of things. So it is normal. So I guess that's why the child is doing that. So just make sure you have toys available for the child to play with so they won't be eating their hands, but it's not something to worry about. And then Emirad Artistic say good evening, ma'am. My baby is chubby. Okay, people usually say it needs to Shira. Okay, that's Yoruba language. Okay, so the question I want to ask Emirati is what is your baby's weight? All right, so I think that's more important for me to know. So can you just let me know what is the weight of the baby? I've written an article. If you go to our website on app page, my baby is not chubby. Okay, so it can go both ways. Some parents are like, oh, my baby is not chubby, I want my baby to be chubby and all that. And then you also have the alternative of like yourself, your baby is too chubby and you want to know whether the baby should lose weight or something like that. Okay, let me just say, generally speaking, for us as pediatricians, we have what we call the healthy weight for the child. There's a range of what is expected for that child at each age. So your baby is 9 months old. Okay, didn't tell us the age of your baby, didn't tell us the weight of your baby. Okay, so please, whenever you're asking questions, always start with the age of the baby. Always start with if you're asking question about weight, I also want to know the weight. So what is important is the weight of the baby. Is it age appropriate? Is that what we expect for the baby? So if it is okay, it's within normal, there's no reason for you to worry. If it is on the weight, then we want you to, feed the baby, we want to investigate, is there any reason why the baby is not having the proper weight? If it is over the top, we also want to check, are there problems? For example, some children have some syndromes, some medical conditions that could make them to be very fat or big. And it may be a problem and we really need to address it as well. So we don't just assume, and there's nothing for you to do in terms of any I don't know what's any procedure they were telling you to do to Shira or to do anything. You don't need to do any such procedure for your baby. Feel free to let us know the age of your baby and the weight of your baby. Then I will tell you what you need to do depending on where your baby is sitting. But please do not do anything anyone is recommending for you for now. So that's the most important thing. All right. Somebody say, Ayoyemi, good evening. Trust you're getting good rest. Thank you. Thank you. I am. Today is actually a public holiday where I am. All right. No, don't buy any Epsom salt. So Emirati Artistic, don't use any Epsom salt. Don't bath your baby with salt or anything like that. All those things are myths and they are very, very dangerous. So don't do that at all. All you need to do is to make sure that your baby's weight is age appropriate and you're feeding appropriately. And I hope you are not also like overfeeding your baby and things like that. So you need to give me the age and the weight of your baby. That's the most important information I need from you. And then I'll be able to tell you what to do depending on what I think is okay or not. All right. Next question. Viv by Viv Luxury here. Good evening. Thank you for the platform. You're welcome. What can be given to a 2 months old baby that doesn't poop for more than 1 week? Okay, how is baby being fed? So, is your baby on breast milk or is your baby on formula? Those are the information we also need as well. And so you need to tell us first. So for babies on exclusive breastfeeding, they may not always pass stools immediately, and they can go for 2 weeks without passing stool, and there's really nothing wrong. And eventually, when they pass the stools will be completely normal texture, not hard, nothing. They may be thick and pasty, but not like hard, like pellets kind of stool. So that is normal for baby on exclusive breastfeeding. So they tend to absorb almost everything from breast milk, and then they accumulate their poo until they are ready, and then they will make a big one and it will be fine. So we don't have anything to worry about that. But if your baby is on formula, because some formula fed baby can have what we call constipation, so they tend to pass very bulky stools and sometimes very hard stools, and that is why formula fed babies have to be given plain water in addition to the formula. And you have to make sure that you are mixing your formula according to the way the manufacturer made it. So you don't just say, just add water or make as your spirit is leading you. No, there's a scoop, there's an amount of scoops that must go to a certain volume of water. So, but what we recommend is that you actually breastfeed your baby exclusively. So, and if that's the case, there's no worry if your baby has not passed through for 1 week. That is perfectly normal. And then you ask your second question is, what can you give for catarrh? Nothing. You don't need to give anything. All right. So most catarrh and cough, when you say catarrh, you mean like the nose is running and something like that. Let's just be sure we're on the same page. Sometimes it could be sneezing along with it. So most of those conditions are due to viral infections. They are caused by viruses. Most time viruses do not require any drugs at all. So for your baby, the most important thing is to protect your baby from those infections, and usually they pick it up from either yourself or siblings or other people who have cough and catarrh who have come in contact with the baby. So you need to pay more attention to that. So don't let people, everybody is carrying babies, sneezing onto the baby, coughing into the baby. The baby is going to catch it. So make sure you keep baby away from people who are coughing, having colds, who are sneezing. Wash your hands thoroughly. Breastfeed your baby again exclusively. Keep the baby warm. Avoid smokes. Don't be taking baby into the kitchen. I hope you're not using generator. And if you're using, make sure the fumes are not coming into the house, into the room where the baby is, and all that. Nobody is smoking around the baby. These are precautions that you need to take. So if you do that, most babies will not have cough and catarrh. Okay, and like I said, most of the time it's going to go away within 2 weeks. But if your baby is having fever with the catarrh or the cough, or the baby is breathing very fast, or the baby is struggling to breathe and making some sounds as if they are really struggling to breathe, those are signs that require you taking the child to the hospital. So when it comes to babies, please do not self-medicate them. Don't just say, if somebody says you go and buy that and you just go and buy them and start giving 2 months old baby, don't do that at all. Okay, if you it's better you do nothing. If you're worried, then you take babies to the hospital and let the doctor see the baby and tell you what to do. So that is what we will say. All right, Emerald, your baby is 9 months old, weighing 11.5. So the average weight of a 9-month-old baby is 9 kilos. So 11.5 is definitely on the high side. That is closer to the weight of an 18-month-old baby. But at this point, we're still not going to do anything about it. It's not like it's too excessive. To us, it's just the upper limit of what we should expect for your baby's age. So just let the baby be, but make sure you are not overfeeding the baby. If you don't know, if you go to our Facebook group, we have a guide section on what is the amount of how often should you feed a 9-month-old and what kind of food you should give. Make sure you're not giving junks and stuff like that, all the biscuits or this stuff, all those juice and drinks and all that. You want to take them out. If you want to give a baby juice, that to be natural, fresh, the squeezed orange, not the store-bought one. Most of them are laden with sugar. So, and of course, usually if your child is crawling and walking as they are moving, they are going to burn out some of those excess fat. So, I'm not going to worry about a 9-month-old who weighs 11.5, but you really need to make sure you're also watching and making sure you're not doing the wrong thing in terms of feeding of the baby. So that's what I would say about that. All right, I think we've answered your question. All right, Mr. Is it Miss Sembris? It's good evening, ma, and thank you for everything you do. Thank you. My baby of a year and 8 months old only say a year and 8 months or 20 months. Okay, only say daddy fine, thank you, but it doesn't say mama. And I want to pee. If he wants to pee, he only comes to me. All right, so your 20 months old definitely should be getting to the point of trying to combine words together. But I would just give the baby a little bit more time just to watch for now. And if by the time your baby is 2 years old, your baby is not yet using those, well, unless there are other issues also with the baby. For example, is the child responding to his name when you call his name? Is he playing with other children, or is he just playing on his own? Is he doing pretend play and things like that? So if there are other concerns, or the child is also doing some repetitive behavior, I would recommend that you definitely have to see, you can say speech therapist first. Sometimes you may also have to see a developmental pediatrician. But if the child is responding to his or her name, the child is a boy, right? His child is responding to his name, and every other thing else is there, but just the speech, you can watch for now. And then maybe when your child is 2 years old, if you still have concern with the speech, or your child is not combining two words together and all that, you have to see a speech therapist first, who may recommend for you to see a pediatrician as well, depending on the cause of that speech delay. For the meantime, if you go online, there are lots of speech therapy kind of videos on what you can do to stimulate your child's language development. You may want to watch some of them. If you go to our Facebook group, we have a guide session on what I call DIY for parents when it comes to speech therapy, what you can do as a parent to support your child's language development. So you may want to go there, and you'll be able to implement some of those strategies. And but if, like I said, by the time your child is 2 years old, if you still have concerns about his language, then it's better to see a speech therapist who can do an assessment, who can decide whether it's just the child just being slow, or the child really has other developmental issues. And depending on which one, they may want to refer you to see a developmental pediatrician as well. So I hope that's helpful. All right. Okay. I think I'll take a break. Instagram, 1 minute. Let me go to Facebook, and then we'll come back to Instagram. All right. Somebody say, good evening, Doc. Can you please enlighten us on the management of chickenpox in children? Okay, so the person who is asking this question is asking from our Facebook group. So I would just recommend that you go to our Facebook group, type in chickenpox, and click on that. It will bring you to our group discussion. We've discussed chickenpox before, so you can see the group discussion for a detailed information on what to do with chickenpox. So I will recommend that for you. But generally, there's really nothing major when it comes to treatment of chickenpox. It's a viral infection. It's going to run its course. You can shorten it. You can make it faster. It's going to run its course, and hopefully it will go usually within 1 week. And again, before you make a diagnosis of chickenpox, make sure because I'm always very skeptical about parents making such diagnoses, because not every rash is chickenpox, and not every rash is measles, and not every rash is which other one, eats rash. So I always prefer you let a doctor give you that diagnosis. But if you're 100% sure it's chickenpox, all you need to do is, if child is having fever, give paracetamol. You can apply calamine lotion on the skin to reduce the itching, and then just let them drink a lot of water and stay home away from other children, because they can transmit the infection. It's a very contagious infection. So you want to keep them at home. And usually by 1 week, most of the rash will cross over, and that's the end of chickenpox. It's not something to worry so much about. But if your child develop complications, like maybe they're having fast breathing, or they're having convulsions, or other serious complications beyond the fever and the rash and the itching, please, you have to take the child to the hospital to see a pediatrician for a proper, because sometimes we have complications. Luckily, they are not so common, but if you notice that, you have to come to see us at the hospital. All right, let's go on. Somebody said, my 1-year-old baby gets restless at night, and I notice her hand and leg is shaking while she's sleeping. The weight is 9.5. I treated her for malaria, but once this evening, she will still look dull. And she finished her last malaria dose, no temperature. Okay, number one, don't treat children for malaria if you don't have a confirmation of malaria. So this child does not have fever, so the child most likely does not have malaria. So don't self-medicate children. So if you think your child is ill, please go to the hospital first. Let's examine the child and know what is going on, and then we can let you know what to do. So there's no evidence of malaria in this child, even though you are treating for malaria. The child being restless, it depends. Is the room hot? Is the room cold? Are there mosquitoes? Are there bed bugs? There are many reasons why a child will be restless at night, so you may want to pay attention to that first. Common things, is the nappy wet? Is the child hungry? Is the child, you want to pay attention to all that. Then the shaking you're referring to, it would be nice to see a video of the shaking, because there's something wrong with children moving their hands and their legs when they're sleeping. But if the child is having like a convulsion, which is what worries us, then that is when we really want you to bring the child to the hospital, because I'm not so sure whether it's a normal shaking or something abnormal, like the child doesn't have control over it. So because your child already has so many symptoms, the child is dull, is shaking, which you are not sure is restless, I would just say take this child to the hospital and let a doctor have a look at the child, and then they can advise you. If you have a video of that shaking, it would be good to take it with you so that you can show the doctor or the pediatrician, and then they can take it up from there. All right, I hope that's helpful. Let's take one more question on Facebook, then we'll come back to Instagram. Good evening. What's the appropriate month for a child to start responding to their names? Usually from 7 months, most children will start responding to their name, but definitely by 9 months, they should be responding to their name. So when you call their name, they don't have to say ma or sa or yes. They will turn. They should just turn. So they know their name. Say, Demisola, they should turn. That's what we expect. From 7 months old, it's a very important milestone, and we worry about children who don't respond to their name. 2 reasons why we worry about children when they don't respond to their name. Number one is the child deaf. Okay, it's the child deaf. We want to be sure, so we want to make sure the child has had a hearing test done. But secondly, it's also one of the earliest signs of autism. So children on the autism spectrum don't tend to respond to them. They can hear, but they just kind of ignore you. So we worry about that milestone. But that is not to say any child who is not responding to the name, you should start labeling them and say they are deaf or they are having autism. There are other things. So, but if your child is not responding to his name, it's a red flag. I would want you to see either a speech therapist or a developmental pediatrician. All right. Okay. I don't know whether it's the Facebook user that is continuing the I don't know who is this. So when you're posting on our Facebook, from the Facebook group, because if you have not given StreamYard the permission to show your name, I won't know which of the Facebook users is continuing the conversation. So I'm not sure whether it's the first one or the second one. So I guess you say your child tested for malaria, she doesn't eat, she have dry skin on her back is feeling, how do you mean peeling? And you've seen them at the teaching hospital, it's not working. So if you've been to a hospital and the treatment we gave you is not working, just come back to us, okay? Don't just give up and say, that means we don't know what we're doing. don't worry, just come back to us, and we will take it up from there. So once you've been to hospital and the child is not better, go back. I'm happy you've gone to a teaching hospital, which is good, where we have most of our specialists. So go back to them, let them know the child is not better, the whatever symptoms you have is still there, and then they can look into it further and take it up to the next level. All right. Okay, let's go back to Instagram. Talking mom stress. Is it talking mom stress? Okay, that's a very unique one. All right. You said that, is there a chart we can use to compare appropriate birth weight? Yeah, there are many apps. You don't even need a chart. There are many apps you can download. Just go to Google it or Play Store, baby weight monitoring or whatever. You can download it and you can put in your child's age and gender and the weight, and they will tell you whether it's within normal or not. Or if you go to our face website, I've written an article on is my child's weight, is my baby's weight on course or something like that. It's my what is my baby's ideal weight? So if you go to that, I've given tips on how you can know whether your baby's weight is normal. So I call it do it yourself. So for example, we expect babies to double their birth weight at 6 months, we expect them to triple it at 1 year, we expect them to quadruple it at 2 years. Those kind of guide, Also, if you go to your immunization card, there's a chart there. There's these lines where they write lines and they write the age of the baby on the horizontal axis, for those of you who remember our math, and then on the vertical axis or the y-axis, you have the weight. And ideally, every time you go to the hospital and they check the weight of your baby, they are supposed to plot it on that graph. So, and on that graph, there are about 3 lines. Sometimes there could be more than 3 lines, but there's a middle line, there's a topmost line, and there's a lower line. So that middle line, usually, if you have 3 lines, the middle line means 50th centile. That is the average line most babies will follow. But as long as your baby's weight is between the topmost line and the lowest line, your baby's weight is fine. So if your baby's weight is above the top line, it's most likely your baby is overweight. So you have to plot the graph properly. So you will trace from the age of your baby to the weight of the baby and, plot it where they join together. As long as your baby's weight is falling within the extreme lines, the topmost or the lowermost line, that will still be within normal. But if your baby's weight is above the top line, that means your baby is slightly overweight. If it is below the lower line, that means your baby is on the weight, okay? But if it's around the middle line, that is average. So that's another way. So that's why you have that graph in your green card, immunization card, baby book, whatever they call it in your hospital. I know most of our nurses are sometimes too busy to plot the graph for us, but ideally we should be plotting it. But most of us are using smartphones these days, so there are lots of apps made by WHO, other countries, on how you can check whether your baby's weight is fine. So you can just put it in and it will tell you the answer. I guess that's the easiest option for most of us. So that's it. Okay. Naomi is one of our ATP volunteers. Good evening. Thank you. Is it okay for a baby of 10 years who is presently on antibiotics to take immunization at the same time? Okay, so there really is no contraindication to a child taking antibiotics. So my general rule of the thumb is, if your child is not sick enough to stay in the hospital for admission, then the child is not sick enough to mix an immunization. That is a very easy general rule. So if your child is sick, is on treatment, but the child is at home, the child is still going to school, the child is going everywhere, that child can go for immunization. But if a child is very ill with very high temperature, very sick child who is in the hospital, definitely we don't want to give immunization to that child. We want the child to come after the child is well. All right. So, and depending on the immunization you're talking about, because I'm wondering what immunization do you want to give your 10-year-old. In Nigeria, there's no immunization at 10-year-old for now. So, but we'll going to introduce the HPV vaccine very soon. So that will be the vaccine that will be given at that age. So otherwise, for now, we don't. But no matter what, if you are giving privately, if your child is not sick enough to be on the hospital bed, then the child should not mix any immunization that is still at this time. All right. Some Kafila say, what is your thoughts on breastfeeding baby lying down and leaving baby to sleep off that way? Okay, what are my thoughts? There are many positions to breastfeed your babies. Okay, we can sit up and breastfeed. You can lie down to breastfeed. There are many other what we call cradle hold, football position. There are many ways mothers can breastfeed their babies. Most important thing is that do what works for you. So if you want to breastfeed your baby lying down, it is a technique. It's not everybody that knows how to do it, because you have to be careful that you're not using the breast to block the baby's nose. You are awake and you are not breastfeeding the nose and pouring breast milk into the nose, and the baby can die from that. So you have to be very alert. So if you are sleeping and you want to lie down to breastfeed, make sure you are alert, because it's easier for the older babies because they can even find the breast by themselves and attach and suck. And then for the newborn babies, you have to be very alert when you're breastfeeding lying down. So make sure you know how to do it. Make sure you're not blocking the nostrils with your breast, and make sure the milk is going the right way and the baby is comfortable and you are comfortable. So if you're able to do it, you know the technique, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with breastfeeding lying down. All right. And there's nothing, I don't know what you mean by letting baby sleep off that way. You mean when you finish breastfeeding? If you finish breastfeeding, baby is sleeping, it's fine. There's nothing to worry about. But if you don't know how to do it, please sit up, hold your baby, and breastfeed. So just make sure you are comfortable and you know how to do it. All right. So those are my thoughts. Somebody said, can I give my baby? Okay, same Kafila. Can I give my baby pap at 4 months? No. No. So you are supposed to give your baby only breast milk for the first 6 months of life. This is still the breastfeeding months, because we just did breastfeeding week, first week of this month, August 1 to 7. I guess you were not with us then. So, but all our videos, all the stuff, they are still on his Instagram page, they're on our Facebook group, they're on our YouTube channel. I really recommend that you go through them. So for the first 6 months of life, the only food, the only water, the only thing that should pass through the mouth of a baby is breast milk, nothing else. And no pap, no formula, nothing except breast milk only. Not even no drugs, no water, no agbo, nothing. All you need to do to give your baby is breast milk, and that's what we call exclusive breastfeeding. After 6 months, breast milk will not be enough for your baby, and at that time, you can now give your baby other food. That's when you introduce what we call complementary feeds. And complementary feeding, you can give pap. There are many things. In fact, there's no food you cannot give. You will keep breastfeeding, but you can now start to give other food, and that is complementary feeding. And that should start from 6 months. There is no advantage to rushing to give your baby solids and complementary feeds before 6 months. So when we make this recommendation, I want you to trust that these are not recommendations made by Dr. Bemi. These are recommendations made by the whole body of scientists and pediatricians, WHO, UNICEF. People do research. We do research. We do what we call evidence to know when is the best time to start giving baby solid, when is the intestine ready to digest. These are things, these recommendations, we just come and tell you this is what we should be doing. But before those recommendations are made, trust me, there are thousands of researches that have been done and that shows that this is the best time to do this, is the best time to do that. So, and these are professionals, experts' opinion in that area. So it's recommended that you follow that. So no pap until 6 months. Keep breastfeeding your baby. When your baby is 6 months old, you had breast milk you keep breastfeeding and then you start giving other food. I hope that's helpful. So if you want more information, there are lots of resources. I mean, this generation, we're so blessed with all this technology. So information is always there at our fingertips. There are apps. There's a app by the Global Health Media called Birth and Beyond app. So it has all these videos on how can you feed your baby, what is appropriate way to feed your baby. So the first 6 months, all the breastfeeding videos. Then when you start complementary feeding, there are feeding videos as well. So try and watch all those things. Download the app, or just Google that. You will see them. Go to UNICEF website, WHO website, all those places. You can always get the right information. Don't listen to other mothers telling you this is what to do. There are a lot of sites and platforms because of social media as well, where I see fellow mothers dishing advice to fellow mothers, and most of those advice are wrong, and you will do yourself a favor if you don't take information from people who are just like you, but from professional. And I've given you professional websites where you can get those kind of information. If you want to check out, or maybe I don't trust what I've been saying, you can always check it out, but don't go ask your fellow mothers. You have to ask at the right site, at the right from professionals, so that you will do the right thing. All right. Ayemi said, what age can one start breastfeeding lying down? There's no age to it. When you are ready, when you know you can do it properly, that's the most important thing. There's no age. It's a technique that you have to be sure you can handle. And usually, I always say for the first time mothers who are still learning their way, how to breastfeed and all that, they are not the ones to start breastfeeding lying down. But by the time you start breastfeeding, when you have your second babies and all that, most time by then you would have become more, experts in doing that, then it's going to be easier for you. So there's no time limit, but you have to be sure of those things I mentioned about in terms of making sure you're doing it properly and you're not causing harm to your baby. That is the most important thing. All right, I think I'll go to Facebook now. Somebody said my 2-year-old and 3 months eats almost everything she picks from the floor. All right. She said licking a pea. So we call that pica, P-I-C-A. So it's a condition where children put things in their mouth that are not food items, and it's not. We worry about it, and because it could be a sign of it could be a sign of iron deficiency. We also see it in children who have lead poisoning, especially those of us that puts all these what do you call it, zero or card or whatever. There's a name you call it, all those high pencil. Please don't put this on the eyes of babies. Most of them are very high in lead, and that lead can damage the brain of babies. So lead poisoning is very neurotoxic. So I see a lot of mothers, when you see their babies, everybody, even boys and girls, everybody is putting on high pencil. Very dangerous practice. You are just loading those children with lead. So avoid it completely. Or some of the drugs some of us give, if you're giving herbal drugs, if you're using some pots, local pots or toys, some of them are rich in lead, so you may want to be careful with that. Or some of the water, especially those who live in places where they do a lot of mining of stuff, some of our water are contaminated with lead, and this lead can cause brain damage. And one of the signs of lead poisoning is that your children start having pica, putting things in their mouth that are not food items. So so you've gone to wearing Pampers for your 2-year-old. She has treated white blood cell 2 times. I don't know what you mean. White blood cell was high and she was treated. Okay. What can I give her to build her immune system? I'm not sure it's what to give her to build her immune system that you need to deal with. What you need to do is, why is your child having that habit, that picker, putting things in her mouth that are not food items? I didn't see you tell me what was found as the cause in your baby. So did your doctor check the PCV? What was it? Was the blood level low? Have they asked you questions to make sure that your child is not exposed to lead poisoning? Are there developmental issues? We also see it in children who have autism spectrum disorder or global developmental delay. Is your child showing all the signs of these developmental disorders or disabilities. Those are the things we need to address first. So you need to answer that question, so we can address the underlying cause, because it is definitely not normal for a 2-year-old to be doing that. So if your child is already potty trained, don't put them back on diaper. Let the child be out of nappies, but you need to put more attention on the child, and then you need to address the underlying cause of the picker itself, and hopefully we can get rid of it. So that's what I would recommend for the child. There's nothing wrong with the weight, and I'm not sure. Of course, if the child is putting all sorts of things in their mouth, it's possible they will expose themselves to germs, and that may be explain why your child is having recurrent infections. But we have to work on getting rid of the habits rather than there's nothing you can do, because no matter how much of what you do to boost the immune system, the child will keep on getting exposed to germs as long as the habit itself has not been dealt with. So that's what you need to do. All right. Okay, so let's go on the next question. Say, good evening, doc. 1 year, 8 months old, having on and off scrotal swelling with no pain and discomfort. Sometimes the scrotum is swollen, especially when it's crying for a long time, and sometimes the swelling reduces. I've visited a pediatrician and was told it's hydrocele. Thought hydrocele doesn't reduce. Well, I won't worry about hydrocele in a 1 year, 8 months old. I think your child has anemia. I don't know who you saw. Sorry to say, many parents, you think every doctor you see is a pediatrician. It's not every doctor who sees children that are pediatricians. So hydrocele is something that tends to occur in the younger babies, usually for the first few months of life. Usually by the time your child is 2 years old, we don't expect them to be having hydrocele. And hydrocele, like you rightly said, is to look like water. You can, there's a way we can test for hydrocele. If we shine light into it, we'll see it is very transparent. But if your child is having swelling that gets bigger when the child is crying, that's a very classical description of a child who has anemia. And like you said, when the child at other time it appears to reduce. So this child has anemia, what we call inguinoscrotal anemia. And you need to take your child to the hospital to see a pediatric surgeon, because your child is going to need surgery. They are going to operate that child and close the. So what happens in anemia is that there's a space where things are, a space that should have been closed, which is not closed. So when there's pressure, things like intestine and things from the abdomen kind of move down, and that is why you see that swelling. Okay, and it can go back again. That's why it reduces, because the hole is tight. So what they do in surgery is to close that hole and do a repair, so things cannot move up and down, So, and it's something that should be done as soon as possible. So please go back to preferably a general hospital or a teaching hospital and see a pediatric surgeon. That's the right specialist to see, and they will book your child for an operation. It's not a big operation. I know mothers don't like to hear the word operation, and it's an operation your child can do and go home that same day. It's not that kind of big operation. So that's what you need to do. All right, somebody said the blood cell is okay. That's the person asking about pica. Yeah, the blood level is normal. So there are other things that are wrong. It is not normal. Like I said, there are other things. If you are, I don't know about Nigeria now, but usually in other places, we will also check the blood lead levels. We'll check the iron. The blood, it's possible for a child to have normal blood level and still have iron deficiency. So we need to check the iron level as well. So there are other tests we can do. So I'll recommend you go back to see your pediatrician. If you are not sure the doctor you're seeing is a pediatrician, go to a teaching hospital, because we can do all those tests. We can do the iron level, we can do the blood lead levels, we can check for other aspects of the child's development, and then we can advise you what to do. It's very important that that is done and it is rolled out. All right. Next person said, what can a nursing mother do to help sub breast from suckling child? Okay, so number one is to address why a nursing mother is having sub breast. Breastfeeding is supposed to be smooth, it's supposed to be pain-free. You're not supposed to have sores. So the only reason why most of us mothers are having sores on our nipples or wounds on our breasts from breastfeeding is due to poor breastfeeding technique. We are not attaching a baby properly to the breast. So if you are new to us, you have to go back again. This is the August. I spent the first week of this August talking about breastfeeding, showing us all the breastfeeding videos. Please, you need to go watch it. You need to attach your baby to the breast. Most of us, what we do is to put the nipple in the mouth of the baby. The baby should not be sucking on the nipple. They should be sucking on the areola. So if you just allow the baby to grab the breast, they just quickly, hungrily or greedily grab on the nipple. And when they press on the nipple, nothing's going to flow. There's no milk on the nipple. So the baby gets upset and they bite on you the more because they want the milk to flow. Nothing. And then you are going to have the cells and the wounds. So where the milk is under the areola. The areola is that black part of your breast beyond the nipple. So the nipple is the part that shoots out. The areola is just beyond the nipple, and that is where the milk banks, or what we call the milk sinuses, that's where they are stored. So that is where your baby should be sucking on. So when you are breastfeeding properly, if you put the areola and the nipple in the mouth of the baby, you should not be seeing it. When you look down your breast, you should not see that areola, at least maybe just a thin, very little part of it, because most of it should be in the mouth. But if you are breastfeeding and you can see the whole of that areola, the black part, then that means your baby is not properly attached to the breast. And that is the number underlying cause of all these breast cells, all these breast nipple. If you get breastfeeding, is 98% attachment. We need to get the attachment right. We need to get the latching of the baby to the breast right. So the best way is that when you want to breastfeed the baby, don't let them rush to grab the nipple. Make sure their mouths are open wide. You can touch their mouth with the side of the mouth with your breast and or with your hands, or when they want to yawn, when they open their mouth wide, then you just push the whole thing in their mouth so the nipple and the areola go into the mouth, and that is it. And when the baby suck on the areola, the milk is gushing into their mouth. They are happy, you will be happy, everybody will be happy. But when the baby is sucking on the nipple, they are not happy because no milk is flowing. They cry more, they bite you the more. You are going to end up with breast cells, nipple cells, and that's what's going to happen. So I took my time to for address the underlying cause, because there's really no point me telling you how to treat the nipple cells when you're still going to have more cells. Because if you don't address the underlying cause, you're still going to come back and say, we've used these treatments, but the source are still there because the underlying cause of the source, you've not addressed it. So that's the first thing. But if you already have sores, you may want to rest that breast so you can express. And there are if it depends on how bad it is. Sometimes if you just put just the breast milk on top of it as well, just the breast milk, and leave it to dry, it will heal by itself. Okay. But if it is a very bad wound, you may need, like if you're having fever with it and you're having these chills and right God, that means you already have infection. You need to see your doctor who will prescribe antibiotics. There are also nipple creams like Nalonine and all that. Most of them, they are sold in these mother stores. You can also apply them and make sure you have exposed it to air and let it dry and let it rest. So you use the other side is fine. You can breastfeed from the other side. You can just express and give the baby from that side. But when it is healed and you're putting the baby back on the breast, please do it right. The latching must be right. If you do it the latching right, everybody will be happy, including yourself. All right. So I hope that is helpful. Let me be sure there's nobody on Instagram. Okay, let me come back to Instagram, then I'll come back to Facebook. Somebody's Adam Muse. Good evening, ma'am. My 11-month-old works on her toes when trying to walk. Is he okay? It is okay. So when babies are starting to walk, they do walk on their tiptoes. It is normal until they are 2 years old. So once they are 2 years old, their legs should be flat. The feet should be flat on the floor. So if the feet are not flat after 2 years, is a problem. Okay, so it could be a sign of like a red flag for autism. It could be a sign of other neurological problems and stuff like that. So you have to see us at that time. But up to the age of 2 years, it's okay for them to walk on their tiptoes. But by 2 years, after 2 years, they should be flat. All right. Okay, that's all on Instagram. Let's come back to Facebook. Good evening, thanks always. You're welcome. Is it normal for me to spit out frequently? Babies don't actually spit. They spit just come out of their mouth. They drool. I don't know whether. So it's okay. The issue is that we all produce a lot of saliva. I hope you know that we produce a lot of saliva. It is to clean our teeth, it's to clean our tongue and all that. The only reason why myself and yourself, you are not seeing saliva coming out is because we are swallowing it, okay? And sometimes children, sometimes they are not yet as efficient in swallowing their saliva. Sometimes they open their mouths and so it's come out, because they are not swallowing it back. So it is not a problem. It is a problem if it is really so bad, like you have to be changing the beeps like every hour. It's like you are having lots of beeps wet daily. Then it may be that there are other problems with the child's neurological system, that the child is actually not able to swallow. Like in children with cerebral palsy and all that, then it's a problem. But most children, most babies before the age of 1, 2, they tend to drool saliva, but it shouldn't be that like you have to change bib every hour. It shouldn't be that like the bibs are always wet or soaked. No, but a little bit of it is fine. So that's why you should always tell us the age of your baby. Okay, your baby is 16 weeks. Stay fine for a 16 weeks old. So I'm not worried about it at that age. As they get older, they're able to swallow their saliva better and they won't be drooling as much. Then it's okay. It's normal for baby to scream in their sleep. It's okay. Baby can scream. I know a lot of mothers do send me videos of baby playing and screaming, and they worry about it. And these are normal for babies to do. So, and sometimes when they are sleeping, they remember all the screaming and everything they've done during the day. So they do it again in the night during the period of what we call rapid eye movement sleep period, which is like they are sleeping but they are almost awake. So it's possible for them to do that. It's nothing to worry about. It's not a witchcraft disturbing the baby. It is not a demonic attack. I know mothers who will start praying and pouring anointing oil and all that. They can also cry in their sleep as well. It is normal. So they went through that phase where they relieve the experience during the day. So it is perfectly normal. Nothing is wrong. And there's no reason for us to start to panic. I believe she must be a first-time mother. So first-time moms ask this kind of question. It's fine. Don't worry. All right. I think I'm getting close to the end. What is the best way for blocked nose in a baby of 4 months old? Okay, the first thing is what is blocking the nose? Means from Miss Akonde patients. So we need to know what is blocking the nose, okay? Because a lot of people say block nose and use that word block nose for when children make some noises. Not necessarily that the nose are blocked. So usually when people say block nose, I want to ask, did you look into the nose? Are they actually blocked with something? And if they're actually blocked with something like mucus, yes, then I can recommend things like saline drops. So saline drops is normal saline, just salt and water that is packaged in the lab, nothing fancy. But the idea is that when you drop it into the nose, it will soften that mucus, because yourself and myself, if our nose is blocked with mucus, we will sneeze and it will come out. But babies are not able to sometimes generate that sneeze. So that's why some mothers put the eucalyptus oil so that it will trigger a sneeze. And sometimes it helps and the mucus will come out. But if there's mucus that is so thick, sometimes the babies are not able to blow it out by themselves. So you can put the saline in their mouth, just one drop, both nose. It will soften the mucus and then the mucus will flow out and then nothing will be blocking the nostrils. But if there's nothing blocking the nostril, there are no mucus, please don't put saline drops. Okay, it's not a magic, it's to soften mucus to make it flow out. But if there's nothing blocking the nose, then it is not, there's no need to put saline drops. So in that case, we need to know, is this something deeper down, like maybe there's a swelling or something like that. And some of those ones is not something you can do something about. It is for the professional. So you may have to take your child to the hospital, especially if the child is really struggling to breathe. Actually, there are some noises babies make. It doesn't mean their nostrils are blocked. There's nothing wrong. It's still, there's some normal kind of noises, but sometimes I know it's hard for parents to distinguish between normal one from the noise of obstruction. So, but that's why you have to come to see us, then we can give you some support around that. All right, Fabolu de Abiodun Gundokun. Okay, I know this mom. All right, so my 8-month-old twin have not started crawling. Oh no, don't worry. Crawling is even a 9-month-old skills. Okay, it's 9-month-old skill. And if I remember, I think your twins were preterm babies as well. So for preterm babies, you have to correct their age. Number one, so don't expect your preterm babies to achieve the same milestones like the term babies. So we normally correct for preterm babies until they are 2 years old. That is number one. So if your baby were born at 36 weeks, so that means they were born 1 month early. So you, even when they are 8 months old, chronological age based on their date of birth, you have to subtract 1 month. So they're actually 7 months corrected age. So that's number one. And you judge their development, their weights, and their development by their corrected age, not the chronological age. That's number one. Then number two, crawling is a 9-month-old skills. So I'm not worried if an 8-month-old is not crawling. That's number two. Number three, some babies never crawl. Okay, so some babies will never crawl. Is a milestone that some babies just skip. They don't crawl. They may decide to bottom shuffle. They move with their bum instead of crawling on their hands and feet. So we usually don't worry about crawling per se. So what I want an 8-month-old to be doing is sitting by themselves, and that will make me happy. So that's all. But crawling, no need to worry. All right. Greetings to you, ma. Gochuku Vera. Thank you so much, Vera. All right. Let's just round up and finish with this. I think I have 2 questions on Instagram. Adam say, is it a must we must give one medicine early morning before meal? No, you don't. Most of the one medicine we recommend, like albendazole and all the rest, you can give it anytime. You can give it with food, you can give it up. So that's a rule that our mothers, I think I grew up also knowing about that. You do one very first thing in the morning, and after becoming a doctor, I realized that there's actually no law that says that. So most one medicine you can give it anytime. You can give it with food, you can give it before food, after food, it doesn't matter. All right. So you can give it anytime, don't worry about that. Zolotu, what cause of eye gunk? Okay, well, we'll call it eye discharge in a baby of 1 year old. Okay, so most of us wake up with some high discharge. That's normal. That's not the problem. What is it, when it becomes a problem is the color. Is it whitish or is it showing other color like yellow, greenish? Then the quantity, is it like, so when your baby wakes up first in the morning, there will be some discharge. We don't worry about that. Let the baby have a bath, wash it away. But if the day is progressing, the child is still bringing out the same high discharge, then that is when we should worry us if it's continuous, So usually that should be a sign of the child who may have like infection, what we call conjunctivitis, or any of those eye infection that requires treatment. But if it is just only first thing in the morning after waking up from sleep and it is whitish, I won't worry about that. But if it is thick, yellowish, it's gummy, they highly together, you clean it in 1 hour or 2, it is coming out again. Yes, there's an infection, and that is when you have to take the child to the hospital, because you've not really told me. You said you wake up daily with it, but does it happen during the day as well? I think that is more relevant for us, So I hope if you are still here, let me know, and then I'll let you know what to do. Final question. Can my twins take water after feeding? How old are your twins? My baby is 1 week. We're into mixed feeding. Okay. So usually I will recommend that you breastfeed your baby exclusively. That is my number one. And I know many people, oh, why do you always? I always want you to do the best, and the best is still breastfeeding. And you can breastfeed your twins. I can tell you for free that a lot of mothers would exclusively breastfeed twins, so it is possible because you actually make more milk than your baby needs actually. So first recommendation, can you your baby is they're just 1 week, so you are just starting, so you can just go back and let's take out the misfeeding and just do breastfeeding only. Both babies, you can do that. But if you, I mean, it's not a law that you must exclusively breastfeed your baby. We've not made it into a law yet, so you still have a choice to decide not to exclusively breastfeed your baby despite the pediatrician's advice. You are welcome to do that. So if you're formula feeding your baby, like I said earlier, you have to make sure you mix the milk accordingly. Some of us don't do that. We just put these scoops, put this water, and just shake. No, there's an amount of scoop that must go with an amount of water. You have to pay attention to hygiene. You have to wash your hands. You have to sterilize your bottles, everything. And if you do that, you can also give your child plain water. There's an amount of plain water you can give depending on the volume of formula that you're giving your baby. So it's a lot more stressful actually to do formula feeding than most mothers think. Actually, if you look at it well, so go if you look through your tin of the milk that you're using, they will tell you how to mix it. There's an instruction there of how to mix the milk, the quantity to give, the quantity of scoops to the quantity of water, and the plain water you have to give the quantity as well, depending on the age of your baby. Everything is always written there, so you can check it and make sure you do that. All right, so I hope that's helpful. All right, I think I was going to say I'll finish for the day, but some people have already asked more questions. Okay, let's just. My baby is 7 months old. It's not holding things well. What do you mean holding things well? Can the baby hold like a rattle? Can they transfer it from one hand to the other hand? If yes, then I'm not worried. But if your baby is not able to hold a rattle and they're not able to transfer it, yes, I worry about that. That is not normal. So that means there may be some developmental delay or there's some weakness with the hands. And so, I mean, I'm sure you see, even 3 months old, you see the way they hold that, they rattle and shake it. And that is what we expect at that age. So you may be able to reach for a toy, grab it, shake it, even transfer it. So if your child is not doing that, please see one of my colleagues, see a pediatrician, and you don't have to worry, but you have to just see us. We just need to be sure there's nothing else that is wrong. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for watching ATP Live Monday. We've come to the end today. Thank you so much for all those who watch on Instagram. Some of you left, but it's fine. At least I saw you there. And those who will join us on Facebook. Remember that if you want to watch all the video again, you can watch it again on the platform you're watching. We don't delete them. They're always there. And you can always make reference to them. They're available on our YouTube, on our Facebook page, Facebook group, even Instagram TV, so you can always check them out. And if you want to read more about some of the things I mentioned about, you can go to our website, www.askthepediatricians.com. And if you have more questions, you can still ask your questions, not live, but you can come to our Facebook group, Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group for children health issues, ATP family for adult health issues, ATP still a mom for those who need emotional or support after losing a pregnancy or a child, and FTM baby for the first time mothers. So you are welcome to join all these groups and ask your questions there. We are there from Mondays to Saturdays, and everybody always here, not everybody, some people always ask me, even on Sunday, why can't I post on Facebook group? Why can't I post? And I'm like, we don't open our Facebook group on Sundays. But I guess no matter how many times we say it, people still don't get it. But it's fine. I'm just trying to say so that if you come on a Sunday, you won't be disappointed. We don't take question and answer on Sundays. That's the time for our volunteers to take a break and have some other things to do with their families. So, but Mondays to Saturdays, 24 hours every day, there is always somebody there to answer your questions. Of course, depending on the kind of question you ask, it will not be answered immediately. So there are questions that a pediatrician has to answer. There are questions like FAQ, everybody knows the answer. Even some of our members can answer you. So our moderators do help us out with those kind of questions. But if there's a complexity to your question, you have to wait until one of our doctors is able to address those questions. And of course, if it's something that cannot wait, please don't post it on our Facebook group. You have to see us in the hospital. We are also in the hospital, so you have to go to the hospital to see one of our colleagues. If any question that is cannot wait, you have to go to the hospital. And thank you so much. Remember that beyond what we do online, we also do offline community medical outreaches. And we're currently gearing up for our school outreach in October. So we'll be talking to you more about that. And I look forward to you supporting us. So if you want to support us, reach out to us through any of our platforms, and we will be able to talk more on how we can work together. Remember, our goal is that no child should die from preventable causes of death. That's behind everything we do. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. If you still have questions, please don't just go to our Facebook group and we will answer it there. All right. Bye. Remember, on Thursdays I do ATP Hour on Fresh Waste Radio, on our YouTube channel, Facebook channel, Facebook pages, so you can listen in, and you can also check my podcast, Ask Dr. Bemi ATP podcast, so you can listen to a teaching on all these important child health topics. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Bye. Bye-bye.